So effectively, this is the refurbished house after the original was burnt.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at is the stones.
Oh yeah, everything was there, the walls and everything was there. They just refurbished it.
How badly damaged was it, Vincent? Was it?
Well, according to the calendar, you see the photograph in the Historical Society calendar. Roof and every windows, everything was gone. It's just a shed, like the rest of it.
Yeah. Days at night, you've got the Tans running amok, but also somewhat of a feeble investigation going on. Would they have been looking for Rock and Gaynor specifically? Because they obviously picked up Lawless and Gibbons at some stage. Were they looking for anyone in particular, or were they just running amok?
Well, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't have known Gaynor and Rock involved in that at all.
They wouldn't have been seen as known kind of.
No, they wouldn't have known. Like the reason they picked up Lawless was the rest of them were all told to get out of town.
Right.
Gibbons couldn't leave because he had the cattle, and he was actually on the way down the stairs after looking after his cattle when they pushed him down to call him on the stairs. But Lawless had the big family and probably didn't see the danger. You know.
Yeah.
So he decided to stay.
And do we believe that the reason Lawless was a known member or volunteer, but also being a barber, would have known stuff? Is that
well,
was he interrogated for what he may have known, or
he was a sympathiser?
Right.
I don't know. You see the fellow would have been actually involved and signed up as a member and all this.
But he would have been identified as somebody that may know who did this.
Yeah. I don't know. Pure speculation. He was a sympathiser. He was told to leave town, but he didn't.
I mean, sort of, fellas would have been involved without being signed up members,
right?
And they would have done small jobs and move that for me, or whatever. So
I would imagine a barber's would be a good spot to get it ordered.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, sort of, it would be a lovely place for a dead letterbox,
Yes.
And maybe that's what was happening. But there's nothing to actually document and support that.
That's what I mean. But some understanding is what would have led them to Lawless, that he may know something. But what about Gibbons? Gibbons, a dairyman up the other end of the town where they didn't even see the focus.
He was secretary of that.
So somebody was telling them something.
So he was secretary of that local
Sinn Féin organisation.
Whatever it would be.
So they had some information. They were working off some.
Oh yeah.
Informer or
they would the
RIC would have had information.
They'd know everything. And wouldn't be waiting on Jack Scott.
The Tans weren't. The Tans would have had daily access to the RIC barracks.
Right.
The auxiliaries would have been slightly different in terms that they were up in. And part of the distinction of the two groups was that the Tans were recruited from the non-commissioned soldier ranks, and the auxiliaries were the officer class. Just clarify that. That's the distinction. That's how.
I always I wonder about that.
What we have learned from Paddy Finnegan, our chap that gets all.
If the Tans were the kind of the foot soldiers and such, the auxiliaries were in the middle between, and they were kind of like it was kind of like a semi-retirement plan, nearly kind of job.
No. The auxiliaries. These were the officer class, and they were treated as officers, and they were treated as part of. And once they were auxiliary to the RIC, they were the military. They were organised on a military basis. And after 1921, after the treaty, Tans and the auxiliaries went on into other theatres, and they were in Palestine. They formed the backbone of the Palestine police, and then equally everywhere that there was an issue. The structure was used again and again throughout the dwindling British Empire, and the same guys were involved.
Would there be any propaganda involved in that? Then would there be like the Irish story, the Black and Tans?
Well, I don't know. I haven't researched that, but I mean, I think it was interesting in terms of you'd imagine, horrendous. Let's get out of here. Let's disband these guys. And what if they disbanded them? What would they do if they decided to run amok in England? So it was easier to send them off to Palestine.
All right.
In actual fact, William Burke, that was wounded in over here, he ended up in Palestine.
Yeah. Regards to information, regards one family and another family.
Yeah.
hardest that the British kept to that on volunteers and that was unbelievable.
Really, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where they were every minute of the day nearly.
And we have access to that now, do we?
We've certain Paddy's put out a lot of information
Yeah.
regards that.
The foils, the FBI foils, the stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do practically everything.
Like,
Is that publicly available or just
no,
we're uncovering
no,
it?
it's uncovering. It's about somebody sitting down and using their imagination to work how to find them. And equally, you got to remember, you have a very small population here in Balbriggan.
It's a little town, yeah. It's a small town. Yeah.
Sort of, with any element of cooperation, they're going to know what's going on. You know,
Yeah.
so if you had somebody, one person on this street who spoke to the RNC, everybody's actually, you know, the behaviour of people would have been easily tracked. Sort of, it wasn't necessary for them to be one-to-one tracking. They, you know, one person. But the phrase "loose roads cost lives" or
Sink ships.
you know, whatever. You know.
Vincent, we were talking to this street, Clr Street, was it known as Sinn Féin Alley all the time, or just at the time that, you know, is that where the name came from? At the fans. Right. And that because Derham was on the corner.
Derhams were on the corner.
Yeah.
They'd be a little bit apprehensive with walking down here, you know.
Right, this is the rough end of the town.
Derham's
AJ.
pub was actually wrecked on that night, and Derham was made to sit apparently on the footpath with death threats to them,
Yeah.
for hours that night.
And unaware whether his son was alive or dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unaware of anything really, just other than the threats that was hailed down from the fans.
We go down and have a look at Derham's.
You would think?
Yes.
Right?
This would have been, was the name of the pub Derham's?
Derham's pub, yeah.
Who's Derham's pub, whose son was with Rock at the point of Cochrane coming in
Right.
to tell them the news that there's
So
problems.
he was one of the two people that came into the pub to say
Yeah,
there's murder in Smith.
Yeah,
That one.
Rocks and Derham were doing the accounts from the Flapper Day
Right.
when news arrived.
In Connollys pub.
In
Yeah,
Connollys.
in
Oh.
Connollys.
Just the one over here.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were doing the accounts from the Flapper Day in the
Yes.
sport, and that's
Yeah.
when they came in and said
There's a problem.
the problem up the road.
This
And it may have-
this pub here was ransacked. It wasn't bought, but it was ransacked. And as I say, the owner was made to sit on the path outside.
I read Derham's testimony a couple of years later to the American inquiry,
Yeah.
and like he does give a very detailed account. And I'm going to put it up on the site that he had time to elaborate on the story, but he was upstairs, and his son was downstairs. He didn't know whether he was alive or dead, and the Black and Tans were continuing to ransack the place.
Yeah.
And he was upstairs. He was the mayor of Balbriggan at the time, or the head, or was he the chair of the town council?
Yeah,
Or,
town
town
commissioners.
commissioners.
Town commissioners.
Town commissioner, yeah.
And and then so he was definitely identified as somewhere to search and
Yes,
to
yeah.
destroy.
Seen as a leader
Yeah.
amongst the
Right.
community, I suppose.
Political side of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, then so we'll have a look then. We'll walk down past Connollys and try and get across the road.
So this is the building that's
Yeah.
Rock and Derham was in.
Yes, yeah. They were doing the accounts sorting out the accounts from the Flapper meeting,
Right.
and it was in that pub, and that's where it all started.
And
Really.
what was the name of that pub?
Connollys.
Connollys, right.
Yeah, had Connollys
Yeah.
pub, yeah.
So this is where Rocco alerted to something gone on in the pub on the street. Right? And this is when they got the guns and left here and headed over.
With the guns, there was talk of the guns being in an attached cottage. Would that have been up in Clr Street somewhere?
I presume so.
In the patch.
I don't think anybody knows where they were. But guns had to be sought, and the guy left here.
That's
I
crazy.
think Cochrane got the guns.
We'll go down and have a look in Quay Street, yeah?